All right, we haven't done an Under the Covers for a long time, and I know you guys have been missing it. So we had our grand opening today. We ate a lot of burgers, had some hard cider from Deal's Orchard, had a pile of people, I'm guessing 300, 400-ish people. Kids ran around and made a mess of the warehouse. We've had a great day. Had a lot of really fun people, some great vendors out here, and now we're excited to have the Secretary of Ag, previous, what years?
2007 to 2018.
2007.
For
Okay,
Iowa
for
Secretary
Iowa
of Ag.
Secretary of
Yep.
Ag,
Yep.
Bill Northey joining us, and thanks for coming out
You
and
bet.
supporting us here.
And you were the undersecretary for the USDA. Is that kind of like assistant to the assistant? Is that how that assistant to the
just a long
assistant manager?
title. It's a title
Okay.
that nobody can figure out.
Okay.
At USDA, you have a secretary and a deputy secretary, and then 8 undersecretaries, each responsible for different programs. Mine were Farm Service Agency, farm programs, NRCS, conservation programs, and then crop insurance. So
Okay.
what could a farmer not love about being in those?
Yeah. So tell me some conservation programs you did when you were at USDA, and tell us about your current role now with Iowa Agribusiness and what you kind of see coming for cover crops.
Yeah, well, for the most part, if at USDA you don't decide your own programs, you take what Congress says you're going to do. But we were able to, at that time when I went in, there was still some battle over whether crop insurance rules, they had dates in them, whether they were disincenting the use of cover crops.
Oh, sure.
And we got the language changed over some of that to be able to encourage or at least take the worry away. There were no folks that were really losing coverage, but folks were concerned about it. And then
And we still get those questions.
do you?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be a concern for folks. Maybe people
Yeah.
heard it at one time and they need to be
Reminded.
told about why
Yep.
it's not a worry. There's a lot of other things to figure out, but
Yep.
that's not one of them that they should have to worry about.
Yep.
And then I was there when we did the trade relief program, when we had the trade battle with China, so the market facilitation program payments, the COVID payments, those kinds of things. So
You were there in a really turbulent time.
it was.
There
I
was,
stood up
there
in
was a few
2018.
things going on.
There were. We didn't run out of things to do.
Yeah.
But it's good to be back in Iowa.
Yep.
So I'm back in that role. I had to go through a Senate confirmation, and you serve at the pleasure of the president and the secretary. And then when elections come along, if it's not your president or your secretary, then you head home. And so I came back in 2021 and was doing some other stuff. And then Agribusiness Association of Iowa was hiring a CEO. The previous CEO was retiring. And I knew some of these folks from my time as Secretary of Ag in Iowa. And what it does, it's about 180 companies are members of Agribusiness Association of Iowa, AAI. It's government too. You gotta have an acronym, right?
Oh, yeah.
AAI. And a lot of the grain elevators, either private or co-ops, people that work with them, some livestock folks, certainly some feed mills, those kinds of folks. So
Okay.
great stuff, and we even have a little bit of a environmental arm too, where we have a group called NREC, Iowa Nutrient Research and Education Council. We take surveys of how many acres of cover crops there are in Iowa by going to ag retailers and picking out random number of farms and figuring that out. And we'll
Great.
come out pretty soon to talk about how many we're actually out there in the year of 2022, and it
Great.
continues to increase.
Yeah. Yep.
What's your favorite cover crop? We have to ask everybody this.
Well, so I only ever use rye. And I started, in 2012. We had the nutrient reduction strategy introduced in 2013 was when it was ratified by the department, or by the legislature, Iowa legislature. And one of the big cornerstones was cover crops. And we didn't have very many in Iowa at that time. You guys know that. People guess. We think 20,000 acres, maybe 50,000 acres. Sure. This last year we had about 3 million acres. And I felt like I mean, I certainly needed to try some too. If I'm going to be
Yep.
selling people, I need to have my own failures to talk about or successes. And so I always flew on rye. I never drilled. I went to my co-op and said, I'd like to be able to have some rye flown on. You guys know some airplanes. Can you get some seed?
Sure.
And they said, we think so. And they did. And then the next year they got a semi-load of seed because other folks
Yep.
interested in that. So it's pretty boring. Just rye. And enjoyed it. And had
It's the
great
tried and
stuff.
true. That's,
Yes.
That's the gold standard. So
That's exactly how we got started, Bill. Is we started with one semi-load, and then it turned to two, and then it turned into more.
Shed full.
We got a shed full, and
People
hopefully
look
fuller.
behind and
Yeah.
they think, what do you mean full? Well, it was full, right?
Yeah, it was
the
full.
spring.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, this is
And it'll
just.
be full again this fall.
yep.
Yep, this is just the returns from last fall. So,
Okay.
yeah, we'll hopefully get it all filled up and out the door. Hopefully, it's really empty this Christmas.
Very good.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your day to come
You
and
bet.
support us.
Yeah.
And you're like the original cover crop champion, one of anyways. Our company has benefited from your service, and we greatly appreciate what you guys have done. What do you see on as kind of an outro? What do you see that really excites you going forward?
Well, first of all, I mean, I think there's just an awful lot of folks that try cover crops and then grow more, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got folks. That's what I did. You try 40 acres and then you go to 80, and then it's a quarter, and you get comfortable with it. And there's so many people. We talk about 3 million acres out of 23 million is a little over 10%. 13% maybe of the acres. But somewhere around 25 to 30% of the folks have tried it, and are perfecting it, figuring out what they do to add on acres. And we don't have that many that are doing it with all their acres, so there's a lot of opportunity for growth.
Sure.
I would say the Climate Smart grant stuff that's happening right now, the opportunity for cover crops to be able to grow in that too, is really exciting. And that was something we didn't do, but others did after us, and next administration did that. So excited for that. And then I'd argue, what you guys do.
Yeah.
Stuff
That's
here.
what we were fishing
Yeah,
for.
okay, good. Because you deserve it. Because we always said this is never going to be done by government. It's going to be done by business figuring it out, being able to serve folks, answer questions. And government has a piece in encouraging and some cost share and helping with field days. But what you guys have done is a real testament to where we're at today. So.
And we just got to give you a little context of what happened just earlier. So, Bill's a true politician. He did not miss anything. And Bill's daughter was running a tricycle this close.
She was
right there. And Bill and I looked at each other like, oh, God. Bill Northey didn't even stutter.
True professional.
Yeah, that's amazing. So thanks for coming on.
I wish we would have the camera on the other direction
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
for everybody to see how close it was.
It was close.
Well, thanks for coming under the covers
You bet.
with us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds great.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.